Hello, I'd like to talk to you today about noticing. Most chess players win or lose games, it seems to me, when they start out because of what they notice. Not really about being very clever and deep, it's just what you notice right now that's happening right now on the board. So here's a board, what's happening right now here? Well, just before this, the black moved their knight from b6 to d5, which is why it's on a blue square, to show you what the last move was. So what do you notice about this position? What's going on? What do you notice? Stop the video and give yourself a minute or two until you're confident that you've noticed what important things are going on in this position. So if you've had a chance to think about the position, what have you noticed? Well, what I've noticed about chess players is when they look at a position for the first time, or even just after their opponent's moved, what they see tends to look a bit like this. Their opponent's last move is a real highlight of the board, but everything else, not really paying very much attention to it. So they might well notice that the black knight is now attacking their bishop on e3, which it is, but there's lots of other things going on in this position which might also be important. I think if a chess master looks at this position, they'll notice a lot more. So if we go back to this position, they'll notice, I think first of all, if there are any checks, because everything stops for check, and if you can do something with a checking move, that's very powerful. I think they'll also notice not just the capture of the knight on the bishop on e3, they'll notice all the captures in the position. So that's what you should do as well, and for both sides. And as well as noticing all the checks and all the captures, what they'll also notice is, are there any pieces that are not defended? So I sometimes call them loose pieces or risky pieces. If there are loose pieces, John Nunn famously said, well, I think it was somebody he was playing chess with called Mike Cook, they said loose pieces drop off, LPDO. So look for loose pieces. And lastly, just looking one move ahead for threats, not just what can they capture right now, but what might they be able to capture if you or your opponent made a move. Can you make one move and threaten to capture something on the next move? So those are the sorts of things to notice. So a chess master, when they look at this position, won't just focus on this little bit, they'll focus on the whole board, and I think what they'll notice looks a bit more like this. All the white captures are shown in green arrows, so did you spot all three of those? Those are the white captures, but also did you notice all the black captures that are shown in yellow arrows? Yes, the knight on d5 can capture the bishop on e3, but there's other captures. Maybe they're not any good, but do try and notice them. Did you find the only check from the bishop on f1 to go to b5? That's the only check on the board. Again, not a very good move, but do notice it. And in terms of threats, can you move a piece and make a threat to capture something next move? Well, black is certainly threatening your knight on a5, but perhaps the knight can move to c6 and attack the queen, so that might be a way of getting out of the threat. I'm not saying that's the best move, but that's the sort of thing you should notice. So try and notice all of those things. Now, I made a real mess of this position by painting all over it with arrows, but genuinely, when you look at a board, that's what you must notice. So it doesn't look like this, only the little bit of the board that you're interested in. You look across the whole board and you try and notice everything that's going on. So let's try and do that slowly together with a new position. So here's a position. The black queen has just moved from e7 to e5 to capture a knight, and it's white's go. So I don't think that there are any checks, at least not from white's point of view, but are there any checks for either side? Are there captures, and are there threats, and are there any loose pieces? Well, I think in terms of checks, the only check I could find was the black queen taking the pawn on h2. Not a good move, but it's something you have to notice, because I mean, this is just a check, you just can take it straight back. The next time it might be checkmate, so you've got to notice all the checks. What else can we notice? We notice some captures. Here's a couple of important captures. The queen can go down, and your white queen can go down and take the pawn on b7. The black queen can take our rook on a1. And if we look for loose pieces, that's a loose piece. That's not defended at all. Actually, there are lots of loose pieces on the board. All the ones circled in yellow or orange, whatever that colour is, are not defended. So not only can black take the rook, but it's an undefended rook. So that's going to be important to remember when we come to choose a move. One capture I forgot to put on there, which the black queen can take the pawn that it's sitting next to on d5. So there's another capture for black. So by looking around the whole board and noticing everything that's going on, we've noticed that the black queen can take on the blue arrow our rook on a1. So what should we do about this? Well, there's a couple of threats that white can make. We can make a move to threaten things. We can see a threat from the bishop. We can make a move from c1 to b2 and attack the black queen. Also, we can play the rook from f1 to e1 and attack the black queen, and in fact pin it against the king. Unfortunately, that rook is also not defended on that square, so black would just take it. But try and notice it. Might be important later. In this position, we've noticed that the white rook in the corner is under attack. What can we do? Well, I've got a little reminder for you to help you decide what to do about an attack. And some players like to do one of these types of defence and not the other, not others. So the types of defence you can do are A, B, C, D: avoid, block, capture, defend. So can we avoid the attack with the rook? And in fact we can. We can just move the rook sideways and it avoids the capture. That's nice and easy. What else could we do? We can block this bishop attack on the queen that we've noticed already. Helpfully blocks the attack from the queen, and that's rather nice. How else can we block the attack? We can block the attack by moving the queen backwards onto b2. I'm not saying it's a great move, but notice it because it might be a good one. Go back to the position. What else can we do to respond to this attack? I don't think we can capture the queen. It'd be really nice if we could capture the queen. That's good anyway, but it would also get us out of the problem of our rook. But we can't capture the queen, so avoid, block, capture, A, B, C. We can't capture. Can we defend the rook? Well, I think there's an easy way to defend the rook, which is to drop the queen back and defend the rook that way. Again, not sure it's a good move. Not sure it's the best move, but try and notice it. That's a defence for the rook. A, B, C, D. D for defence. There's another sneaky defence for the rook. If you make any move of the bishop on c1, the rooks will be able to see each other. So in fact, you can move your bishop anywhere, and it will, and then suddenly magically your rook will be defended. So you can move the bishop to e3, and then the rooks can see each other, and the rook will be defended. So that's a sneaky way of defending. Okay. Not saying it's the best move, but do try and notice it. And if you had to pick the best move out of all of those that I've just shown you, I think probably the best move is to move the bishop from c1 to b2. If you played the last move that I showed you, bishop to e3, that's a good defence, but it leaves black alone to get on with what they're doing, and black might get on with whatever they want to do, which I expect would be castles. But if you attack the queen, it doesn't allow black any time at all. So black can't castle, and you might be able to get a nice advantage by continuing your attack. So those are some tips on noticing. That's one of the most important things in chess. So try and get out of this foggy blur that I was showing you at the start, and make sure you notice absolutely everything that's going on in the position. It's not about being deep. These are mostly one move threats, or threats that are right now on the board. You're not having to think very deeply about it, but you do have to be thorough. You do have to be careful and look all around the board to see everything that's going on. That's all I've got for you today, and I'll see you next time. Take care.